You woke up today, but are you actually awake? Or are you just a passenger in a body that's already on autopilot? Think about it. You hit the snooze button 3 times, you dragged yourself out of bed, and the very first thing you did was surrender. You picked up that glass rectangle in your hand and let 1,000 strangers, news alerts, and emails scream at you. Before you even brushed your teeth, you let the world decide if you were going to be happy, angry, or stressed out. You gave away your power before you even put on your shoes. Most people live their entire lives like this. They're like a piece of driftwood in the middle of the ocean, just getting tossed around by every wave. If the boss is mean, their day is ruined. If the traffic is bad, they're miserable. If they don't get enough likes, they feel worthless. It's an exhausting way to live, man. It's like being a character in a movie who doesn't realize they're the one holding the script. But what if I told you there's a way to become a fortress? What if there was a simple psychological cheat code, a tiny shift in how you talk to yourself that could make you absolutely untouchable? I'm talking about a level of mental toughness where people can say whatever they want, the world can go crazy, and you stay as solid as a mountain. The guys who figured this out weren't sitting in air-conditioned offices. They were warriors. They were leaders who had people trying to take them down every single day. They were the Stoics. And they discovered that the difference between a winner and a victim isn't how much money they have or how lucky they are. It's the 5 seconds of silence between waking up and starting the day. It's about the words you plant in your head when no one is watching. Imagine your mind is like a high-end smartphone. Right now, you've got 100 background apps running that are draining your battery. Anxiety, doubt, what-ifs, and old memories of that embarrassing thing you said 3 years ago. By noon, you're mentally fried. You're running on 5% battery, trying to handle real-life problems. Stoicism isn't about being a robot or having no feelings. It's about closing those background apps. It's about clearing the cache so you can actually use your brain for what matters. There's a specific phrase, just a few words, that can act like a factory reset for your brain. It's not some manifestation magic or a positive vibe quote you'd see on a cheesy poster. This is a tactical tool. It's a psychological guardrail. When you say these words to yourself in the morning, you're basically telling the universe, I see what you're trying to do, but I'm not biting. You see, we've been lied to. We've been told that to be happy, everything around us has to be perfect. We need the dream job, the perfect partner, and a bank account that looks like a phone number. But that's a trap. If your happiness depends on things you can't control, you're a slave. Period. You're waiting for permission from the world to feel good. The Stoics realized that the only thing you actually own, the only thing that can never be taken away from you, is your ability to choose your next thought. Think about a professional athlete in the middle of a championship game. The crowd is booing, the lights are blinding, and the pressure is heavy enough to crush a car. If that athlete starts thinking about the what-ifs, they lose. They have to stay in the zone. They have to have a mental anchor. That's what we're building today. We are creating an anchor so deep that no matter how hard the storm hits, you don't drift. In the next few minutes, I'm going to break down the first of these 5 phrases. It's the most important one because it's the foundation for everything else. It's the phrase that turns a bad day into a training session. It's the phrase that stops you from complaining and starts making you move. If you can master just this one, you'll already be ahead of 99% of the people out there who are just reacting to life. The first phrase you need to etch into your brain before your feet even hit the cold floor is this: I am the architect of my reaction. Think about that for a second. Most of us go through life thinking we are the architects of our circumstances. We think if we work hard enough, plan enough, and worry enough, we can control the weather, the traffic, and our boss's mood. But that's a lie. You can't control the storm, but you are the one who decides if you're going to get wet or if you're going to build a roof. The Stoic emperor Marcus Aurelius didn't wake up in a silk bed with nothing to worry about. He woke up to plagues, wars, and people literally plotting to stab him in the back. His life was a mess. But he sat down and wrote to himself, "You have power over your mind, not outside events. Realize this, and you will find strength." He wasn't talking about some good vibes only nonsense. He was talking about a tactical advantage. When you tell yourself, "I am the architect of my reaction," you are reclaiming your sovereignty. You're telling the world, "You can throw whatever you want at me, but you don't get to decide how I feel about it." Imagine someone cuts you off in traffic. The old you gets hot. Your heart rate spikes. You scream at the windshield. You let a stranger you'll never see again ruin your next 2 hours. In that moment, that stranger is your master. They pulled a string, and you danced like a puppet. But the Stoic you see the car cut you off, and you realize that's an external event. It's a piece of metal moving through space. Your reaction, the anger, is a separate thing entirely. You choose to build a different reaction. Maybe you think, "Glad I didn't crash," and you keep listening to your podcast. You just won. You kept your peace. You kept your battery at 100%, while everyone else is draining theirs over things that don't matter. This is what we call the gap. Between something happening to you and your response to it, there is a tiny, split-second gap. Most people skip right over it. They go straight from bad thing to bad mood. But the elite, the people who actually run the world and keep their cool under pressure, they live in that gap. They use those 2 seconds to ask, "Is this helpful? Does getting angry solve the problem?" If the answer is no, they drop it. It sounds simple, but it's the hardest thing you'll ever do. It's like a muscle. The first time you try to hold back your temper or your anxiety, it's going to feel heavy. You're going to fail. You're going to slip up and let the world get under your skin. That's fine. The gym isn't for people who are already ripped. It's for people who are tired of being weak. Every time you choose a calm reaction over a chaotic one, you're doing a mental rep. You're getting stronger. You're becoming that mountain we talked about. People will start to notice. They'll see you handling a crisis at work or a drama in your family with a level of chill that seems superhuman. They'll ask, "How are you not stressed out?" And you'll know it's because you decided at 6:00 am that you are the only person with the keys to your emotional kingdom. But here's the kicker. This isn't just about the big stuff. It's about the micro annoyances, the slow internet, the spilled coffee, the passive-aggressive text. If you can't handle a spilled coffee without losing your mind, how are you going to handle a real tragedy? We practice on the small stuff, so we're ready for the big stuff. This leads us directly into the second phrase. If the first phrase is about building your defense, the second one is your offense. It's the phrase that stops you from procrastinating and forces you to face the day with the intensity of a lion. Because let's be real, the biggest enemy you'll face today isn't some guy in traffic. It's the version of you that wants to stay comfortable. The second phrase you need to weaponize before you even leave your bedroom is, "I am a man of action, not an observer of life." Look, we live in a world of professional watchers. We watch other people live their best lives on Instagram. We watch other people get rich on YouTube. We watch other people fall in love in movies. We've become a generation of spectators, sitting in the bleachers while our own lives pass us by. We're waiting for the perfect moment to start that business, go to the gym, or have that difficult conversation. But here's the cold, hard truth. The perfect moment is a ghost. It doesn't exist. If you're waiting for the stars to align, you're going to be waiting in the same spot until they bury you. The Stoics had a concept called hic et nunc, here and now. They believed that the past is a graveyard and the future is a shadow. The only thing that is real, the only thing you can actually touch, is this exact second. When you tell yourself, I am a man of action, you're killing the procrastinator version of you. You're deciding that you aren't going to be the guy who talks about doing big things. You're going to be the guy who just does them. Most people spend 90% of their energy worrying about the work and only 10% actually doing the work. They build up this giant monster in their head about how hard a task is going to be. They play mental chess with their to-do list until they're too exhausted to move a single pawn. The Stoic way is simpler. You don't look at the whole mountain. You look at the next 6 inches in front of your boots. You don't try to have a productive day. You just do the very next thing with 100% of your focus. If you're washing a dish, wash the dish like it's the most important job in the world. If you're writing an email, write that email like a surgeon performing a life-saving operation. This is where most people get it wrong. They think action means these huge cinematic leaps. It's not. Action is the discipline to do the boring stuff when you don't feel like it. It's the grit to keep going when the motivation high wears off. Motivation is a fake friend. It shows up for the party, but disappears when it's time to clean up. Discipline is the partner who stays. Think about Marcus Aurelius again. He didn't want to be an emperor. He wanted to stay in his library and read philosophy. But duty called. He had to lead armies. He had to deal with corrupt politicians. He didn't sit in his tent and moan about how unfair it was. He got up, put on his armor, and did his job. He told himself, at dawn, when you have trouble getting out of bed, tell yourself, I have to go to work. As a human being. When you adopt this mindset, you stop being a victim of your moods. You stop asking yourself, do I feel like doing this? Because your feelings don't matter. Your mission matters. Your word to yourself matters. If you told yourself you were going to run at 6 am, and at 6 am it's raining and you're tired, you run. Not because the run is going to make you a marathoner today, but because every time you keep a promise to yourself, you're building an unshakable self-trust. Most people have zero self-trust because they lie to themselves every single day. They say they'll start the diet Monday. They say they'll work on their side hustle after work. Then they don't. And every time they fail, a little piece of their confidence dies. They stop believing they're capable of change. But when you become a man of action, you reverse that. You start stacking wins, tiny wins. Getting out of bed on the first alarm? Win. Making the bed? Win. Cold shower? Win. By the time you start your workday, you're already 3-0. You've got momentum. You've proven to yourself that you are the boss of your body, not the other way around. This brings us to a massive roadblock, though. Even if you're taking action, there's a trap that catches almost everyone. The fear of what other people think. The fear of looking stupid. The fear of being judged. And that's why the third phrase is the most dangerous one you'll ever learn. It's the one that gives you the social armor to do what you need to do, regardless of the noise. The third phrase you need to repeat until it's stitched into your DNA is, your opinion of me is none of my business. This is the ultimate social superpower. Think about how much of your day is spent performing for an audience that isn't even paying attention. You dress a certain way so your co-workers think you're successful. You hold back your real ideas in a meeting because you're afraid of looking weird. You don't post that video or start that project because you're terrified of a dislike or a mean comment from someone who's still living in their parents' basement. You're essentially living in a prison where the bars are made of other people's thoughts. And the crazy part? Those people aren't even thinking about you. They're too busy worrying about what you think of them. We are all just a bunch of people standing in a circle, terrified of being judged by people who are also terrified. The Stoic philosopher Epictetus was born a slave. He had zero control over his body, his food, or his work. But he realized something that blew the doors off his mental cage. He said, "If you want to improve, be content to be thought foolish and stupid." Read that again. Most people spend their whole lives trying to look smart, cool, and together. The Stoic is the guy who is willing to look like an idiot to get the job done. When you tell yourself your opinion is none of my business, you are cutting the strings. You're becoming a ghost to the critics. Imagine you're walking down a busy street and a dog barks at you. Do you get down on all fours and bark back? Do you spend the rest of the day wondering why the dog doesn't like you? Of course not. It's a dog. It barks. That's what it does. People are the same way. Haters are going to hate. Critics are going to criticize. That's just their bark. If you let their noise change your direction, you've given them your steering wheel. You've said, "Hey stranger, I don't know you, but I'm going to let you decide if I have a good day or not." That's insanity, man. True Stoic confidence isn't about thinking you're the best person in the room. It's about not needing to be the best person in the room to feel okay. It's the internal scorecard versus the external scorecard. Most people use the external one. Do they like me? Did I get the promotion? Is my car better than my neighbor's? The Stoic uses the internal one. Did I work hard today? Was I honest? Did I keep my cool when things got messy? If you can look in the mirror at night and say yes to those questions, the rest of the world's opinion is just background noise. It's like the hum of an air conditioner. You know it's there, but you don't let it distract you from the conversation you're having. This shift is terrifying at first. When you stop caring about fitting in, you might lose some friends. You might stop getting invited to the gossip sessions at the water cooler. But you'll gain something 1,000 times more valuable: freedom. The freedom to be obsessed with your goals. The freedom to take risks. The freedom to fail publicly and just shrug your shoulders because your self-worth isn't tied to the result. But there's a darker side to this. It's not just about the critics. It's about the things that actually hurt. The losses, the breakups, the failures. That's where the fourth phrase comes in. This one is the heavy hitter. It's the phrase that turns a tragedy into fuel. It's the secret weapon that Marcus Aurelius used when his world was literally falling apart. The fourth phrase is the one that separates the amateurs from the legends. It's two words that sound like a curse to most people, but to a Stoic, they are a battle cry: Amor, Fati. It's Latin for love of fate. Not just tolerating your fate, not just getting through a bad situation, it means actually loving it, choosing it, owning it. Most people spend their lives fighting reality. They say, "It shouldn't be raining today," or "I shouldn't have lost my job," or "She shouldn't have broken up with me." They waste massive amounts of mental energy arguing with things that have already happened. It's like trying to fight a ghost. You're swinging at air, and you're the only one getting exhausted. The Stoic looks at a disaster and says, "This is exactly what I needed." Imagine you're an athlete and you get a serious injury. The average person sinks into a hole. They complain to anyone who will listen. They become a victim. But the person who practices Amor Fati says, "Okay, my leg is broken. This is my reality now. This is a chance for me to build my upper body strength. This is a chance for me to practice patience. This is the fuel for my comeback story." Think of your life like a fire. If you have a tiny, weak flame, a gust of wind will blow you out. That wind is a bad event. But if you are a roaring bonfire, the wind doesn't put you out, it feeds you, it makes you bigger. Every obstacle, every hater, every unlucky break is just more wood for your fire. You don't just survive the heat, you use it to forge yourself into something harder, sharper, and more dangerous to your competition. Marcus Aurelius once wrote, "The impediment to action advances action. What stands in the way becomes the way." This is the ultimate mind flip. If a giant boulder falls in the middle of your path, you don't sit down and cry about the boulder. You use the boulder as a stepping stone to see further, or you use the struggle of moving it to get stronger. When you start saying Amor Fati to the bad things in your morning, the cold coffee, the missed train, the stressful deadline, you stop being a victim of the universe. You become the director of the movie. You realize that a movie with no conflict is boring. No one wants to watch a guy who has a perfect day every day. We want to see the guy who gets knocked down, gets his face rubbed in the dirt, and stands up with a grin because he knows the struggle is what makes the victory taste like steak. This doesn't mean you're a masochist. It means you're a realist. You understand that bad things are inevitable, so you might as well find a way to make them work for you. You stop asking, "Why is this happening to me?" and start asking, "How is this happening for me?" But there's one final wall to climb. Even if you master your reactions, take action, ignore the critics, and love your fate, there's still that nagging voice in the back of your head. The one that tells you that none of this matters, because life is short and we're all going to end up as dust anyway. That's the voice of nihilism. And the fifth phrase? That's the one that takes that nihilism and turns it into the most powerful motivation you've ever felt. It's the phrase that gives every single second of your day a weight of pure gold. The fifth and final phrase is the one that brings everything together. It's the one that strips away the fluff, kills the ego, and forces you to stop wasting your life on things that don't matter. It's two words that have been whispered by kings and beggars for thousands of years: Memento Mori. Remember, you must die. Now I know what you're thinking. That's dark, man. I'm trying to have a good morning, and you're talking about the end? But hear me out. Memento Mori isn't a funeral march. It's a celebration. It's the ultimate bees detector. When you realize that your time is a finite resource, that you have a literal countdown clock ticking in your chest, all the small petty things that used to stress you out just evaporate. Think about the last time you were truly angry. Maybe someone insulted you, or you lost some money. Now imagine you knew for a fact that you only had 24 hours left to live. Would you spend even one of those seconds being angry at that person? Would you care about that money? Of course not. You'd be focused on the people you love, the work that matters, and the beauty of the world around you. The Stoics used death as a tool to sharpen their life. Marcus Aurelius told himself, "You could leave life right now. Let that determine what you do and say and think." He wasn't being morbid. He was being efficient. Most people live like they're going to live forever. They put off their dreams until someday. They stay in toxic relationships because they think they have time to fix them later. They scroll on their phones for 4 hours a day because they act like their time is infinite. But time is the only thing you can't get back. You can lose money and make it again. You can lose a job and find a better one. But every second that just passed while you were listening to me, that's gone. It's never coming back. When you wake up and say Memento Mori, you're giving yourself a shot of pure, uncut perspective. You're deciding that today is too valuable to be spent on likes, drama, or self-doubt. This phrase makes you brave, because what is there to be afraid of? Failure? You're going to end up in the same place as the guy who succeeded. Judgment? The people judging you will be dust right alongside you in 100 years. When you realize the end is certain, the middle becomes a playground. You start taking the risks you were too scared to take. You start saying, "I love you" to the people who matter. You start living with an intensity that most people are too scared to even look at. Imagine you're at a movie. You know the movie is going to end in 2 hours. Does that make the movie bad? No. It makes you pay attention. You don't want to miss the good parts. You're locked in. Your life is that movie. Memento Mori is just a reminder to stay in your seat and keep your eyes on the screen. Stop looking at your phone in the middle of your own life. This is the Stoic secret. By accepting the end, you finally start the beginning. You stop being a spectator and you become the hero of your own story. You stop letting the world dictate your mood. You stop waiting for the right time. And you start loving the struggle. So, here we are. You've got the toolkit. You have the 5 phrases that can turn a fragile, reactive existence into a life of absolute steel. I am the architect of my reaction. I am a man of action. Your opinion of me is none of my business. Amor Fati, Memento Mori. But here is the catch, and this is the part where most people fail. Knowledge isn't power. Knowledge is just potential. Power is what happens when you actually get off your couch and apply this stuff, when your life feels like it's falling apart. It's easy to feel stoic when you're sitting in a quiet room watching a video. It's a lot harder when your car won't start, your bank account is overdrawn, and someone you trusted just let you down. That is the moment of truth. That is when you find out if you're a philosopher or just a guy who watches videos about philosophy. The Stoics didn't care about being smart. They cared about being useful. They knew that the world doesn't give a damn about what you know. It only cares about how you show up. You have to realize that every single day is a battle for your soul. On one side, there's the version of you that wants to be lazy, offended, and comfortable. On the other side is the version of you that is disciplined, resilient, and unstoppable. Every time you choose one of these 5 phrases, you are voting for the person you want to become. You are building a reputation with yourself. And at the end of the day, that is the only reputation that matters. If you don't trust yourself, you have nothing. But if you can look at yourself in the mirror and know that you stayed true to your principles when things got hard, you have everything. I want you to try something tomorrow morning. Before you touch your phone, before you talk to anyone, sit on the edge of your bed. Take one deep breath and say these 5 phrases out loud. Don't just whisper them, say them like you mean them. Set the tone. Stake your claim on the day. Decide that you are going to be the eye of the storm, not the debris being blown around by it. The world is loud. It's chaotic. It's designed to keep you distracted and dependent. But you have a choice. You can be the person who gets triggered by a headline, or you can be the person who writes their own headline. You can be the person who complains about the rain, or you can be the person who learns to dance in it. You are 100% responsible for your life. That's a terrifying thought for most people, but for you, it should be the most liberating thing you've ever heard. It means that no matter where you started, no matter what's happened to you in the past, and no matter what the world thinks of you, you have the controls. Go out there and be the architect. Take the action. Ignore the noise. Love the fate. Remember the end. And most importantly, stop waiting for someone to save you. You are the hero you've been looking for. If this message hit home for you and you're ready to stop being a passenger in your own life, make sure to like this video and share it with someone who needs a wake-up call. Don't forget to subscribe to the channel's Stoic Origin to keep sharpening your mind and building your fortress. The world isn't going to get any easier, but you're going to get a lot stronger. See you in the next one.